Hey class, I realize I'm not gonna be in class tomorrow, so here's my presentation over Lon Po Po, a Red Riding Hood story from China by Ed Young, also illustrated by Ed Young. The date one was 1990, and the perspective was like third person. I just knew everything. So the intended ages were 7 to 11. I think depending on like what you're doing it for, that would work. But if it's like a read aloud book, younger is good because it is like a fairy tale sort of. But like the older ages would be better for like just reading it independently because it has some intense vocabulary. So the shapes were really important in this book because the pages were broken up in like trifold style like this. And so it kind of like showed like a continuity, but that's also really traditional Chinese writing. So the shapes were like, or the colors really added like an important element because when they're dark and creepy, like that's the wolf, but then like when the kids have like an idea, it turns brighter. So it adds to like the effect. The value was really important also because there's just like a lot of cool shading and like juxtaposition between like the wolf and then like the kids or the nature. The choice of media was cool because he uses like traditional Chinese painting and like watercolors and stuff. Yeah, so that's really cool. It looks like very traditionally Chinese in my opinion. And like the artwork, which makes sense because it is a Chinese fairy tale. The artistic conventions, I think they're very like predictable to what you might expect. They fit like the history of the story really well. So I like that even though like it's in English, everything is like preserved of the meaning of the story. And then the artist's personal style, it adds something to the story because it really like illustrates like a certain tension, and he uses other styles because he's from China, and so he wants to like bring that all in, and so he uses like a lot of like pen and ballpoint and things like that, or like glowing pastels to add to his book. The format of the book is pretty cool because it gets like it's like really bright in the beginning and like normal, and then as it goes on and like as the wolf comes, it gets darker and they're like scary, and I don't know, that's a pretty cool picture. And then at the end of the book it's like light again. So that's really cool. And then the language, I think it's pretty advanced. There's just like a lot of like the diction of it is really confusing, I think mostly because it's like translated, but like there's a sentence: before she left, she said, "Be good while I am away, my heart-loving children. I will not return tonight. Remember to close the door tight at sunset and latch it well." I don't know, the way that sounds to me, it's just kind of confusing, and so I think it would take like a more experienced like reader. And then there's just some words like journey, and I don't know, maybe that's not a hard word. I feel like it's kind of a hard word. And yeah, and like the names of these kids are also kind of confusing, but I think it's a really cool book overall. Even just like the cover is just this, and so it adds like an element of like, ooh, what's gonna happen. So I think it's a really good book. Definitely would recommend reading.